Awesome. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome, man. How's everything going?
Rolling. Got finished up with that townhouse I bought in Imperial Beach. Bought
Hmm.
it from a wholesaler. So we're getting pictures taken tomorrow and putting it on the market probably Thursday, Friday.
Dude, why don't you let me
Can't
take a
wait.
look at it with you and just see if there's anything help you out, walk you through the process. The market's been insane, man. So I know you have a realtor, but I could probably like coach you to coach your realtor and
Yeah,
help you
yeah,
get
for sure.
the most money out of it. I've been doing that with a few people and it's been like enormous value because
Yeah,
right now we're getting crazy amounts over list. And if done properly with the way the market is right now, like there's a lot of money to be made,
yeah,
potentially
no,
easily.
yeah, yeah. I can. That's what I've heard from from you and from other people. So this will be the kind of first one I've put on, since that
Mhm.
whole COVID thing. So yeah, if you
Oh,
could
okay.
scratch us some time, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the campaigns up and running. I've got one call. It was a dead end, but I don't know that.
You don't know if it's all right or working well. Okay.
Yeah, well, put this in perspective. It'll probably be pretty easy for you to get to the bottom of this. I think I've only spent like $55 in the
Oh,
last week and a half.
so
So
that's your total spend?
yeah. I mean, if I'm reading it right, it looks like
Okay.
it. So that
So,
doesn't sound right, right?
I mean, sometimes your first week or two is slow,
Oh,
and
okay,
we just started ours back up about 2 weeks ago, and we haven't spent very much either. And what
oh,
happens,
okay,
it catches up a little bit once it realizes that everything's good. So the first week or two can be slow.
okay.
It takes about a month to a month and a half to get to your full spend. But yeah, I'll schedule some time. I don't know if you're free tomorrow. We could schedule some time to take a look at it. And oops,
Sure, yeah,
I'll check my calendar real quick and let's do it. Because I
yeah,
really like, dude, the big part of like the value I can help bring is like I can literally help you with like every little aspect of selling the property, and it's where the big money's been right now. You can only cut your costs with your rehab so much when you're as good as you are and you've done as many flips as you. There's some stuff you can tweak, but where the real opportunity sits is like legitimately getting 10, 20, 30K more than you might have gotten. Realtors aren't built to get you that kind of additional money. It's too far out of their thinking
yep.
essentially. And right now there's I mean, look, we were doing it before then, but right now,
It's nuts, right?
yeah, dude, it is zero inventory out there right now. So if you got
Yeah.
anything at all and you get it out for a good price, man, you will get like a complete bidding frenzy. It just goes, people go insane. With that being said, I've also seen people pricing things 30K too high and they just sit like a duck and they get nothing. 50,
Right.
60 days on the market, you put it out for the right price. And next thing you know, so what I've seen is like, I'll give you a good example. There was a house sitting today that was about just like this house that I just sold recently that I put out for 219.9, and I ended up selling mine for 240. This other one's been sitting out for 78 days at 250 with like no offers. So it's almost like, and the house is actually considerably better than mine. Bigger. It's like a bigger house with more square footage and stuff. So
Right.
I see why they would think it'd be worth a little more, but its problem is they started too high. And it's interesting how the market like identifies like people won't come and offer on something too high. And if they do, it's just going to be weak offers, weak buyer, just everything about the offer is not going to be good. But you get them in the door, it's like the car dealership mentality when they're all like, yeah, you can get a brand new Honda Civic for 16.9. They're like 22K, right? By the time you put a steering wheel and some AC in it and
Sure.
actually seats and rims and stuff, you got to have like some hubcaps. No hubcaps for 16. It's like, it's one that like drives funny at that price. But the point is, it gets people in the door and then they go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're 3 hours behind. I don't know if you want to do, or you have something scheduled tomorrow to do? Anything on your schedule, Tanya? 12, okay? You want to do 12? 12:30? How about 12:30 right after lunch? Because that's like, I guess that's like 9:30 for you. Is that right? 10:30,
Yeah.
11:30, 12:30. Yeah. So 9:30, okay?
Yeah. 9:30 is perfect. Great.
All right. It's 12:30 for us. So I'll put that on Alec. And I'll start with looking over what you got and with your PPC. Probably not much to look at if you're just starting, but we'll make sure everything looks good. And
Okay.
we'll go from there. And then I want to review your deal after that. So we'll just go see.
Okay.
Alec, you know, Yeah, so like the biggest right now, you're able to buy things, okay. We're getting deals again. Deals are starting to come back up, starting to loosen up a little bit on the deal flow. Um, you're getting work done reasonably cheap. I mean, so there's little things you can tackle in the buy and little things you can tackle in the renovation. And then there's like this huge opportunity in the sale of pricing it aggressively, right, where it needs to be. So you know that every single person that looks at it consider it seriously. And the only, so the way people work is you can get 10 people through your house, and a good portion of those people aren't ready to buy at any price. Period, right? So you could say like they could look and see it's the perfect house, and they're just not emotionally ready yet. So they'll find reasons not to buy your house. I always love the one when I get like 50K or list, and they're like, "Your house is overpriced." And I'm like, "I just got 50K or list and 16 offers." But that basically. So for a while, my brain tried to reconcile like, what in the hell are they talking about? What do you mean I'm overpriced and I just got 50K over list? Well, everyone in the world made offers on this, right? And I realized that some agents are carrying buyers around that the agent didn't do a good job of emotionally preparing them and making sure they were ready. Because people
Sure.
say, I'm interested in the house, and agent just jumps like a sales puppy and says, oh, let me take you to see some stuff. And then they get them in there, and then they're like, I don't like this, I don't like that. And, they don't realize that they just weren't totally 100% ready yet. And if they're not,
Yep.
then you can put them in front of any house and they'll never like it. And it's just the reality of it. So that's what I'm finding right now is we're getting like 10 showings. We're getting right now a ratio of 25 to 50% offer rate. So, like we put out 20 showings, and, we're going to get like 5 to 10 offers,
Okay.
20, 30 showings, and, it's going to get a good offer ratio. Like if now that when houses aren't priced well, what we're seeing is like, 10, 15, 20 showings, no offers. And that's a clear sign that we're not priced right. What we really don't want, and where I'll tell you what's kind of like purgatory, is when you get like 15 showings in one offer, and then you basically are just, somewhat begging that one offer. You're in a little bit of a desperate negotiation position because you're hoping that, you come and negotiate, you want to be hardcore. You're like, I want to use this technique Mike told me, but at the end of the day, you're kind of like, hold on, I don't want to get too crazy. I only got one offer. So like most of the stuff I teach doesn't work with one offer after you've been on the market a while, because you kind of have to go with what you got essentially, right? You don't have the power to negotiate the terms. Second, we get 3 to 5 offers, you're going to gain a lot of abundance. You're going to be able to negotiate. You're going to have some room to play without knowing that if you kill one person, you got a lot of backup. The most optimal place is 5 to 10 offers. When we get in 5 to 10 offers, and obviously an above would be awesome too, but when we get into 5 to 10 offers, then what we found in 5 to 10 offers, we start seeing a good enough sample size to find that one special person, that one unicorn that's willing to be like, I will pay whatever it takes. I lost the last 2 houses that I bid on, and I paid way over list, and I didn't get the deal. You just tell me what you want me to pay to get this deal done. And that unicorn comes when you often find one of those unicorns on almost every deal I've seen with like 7+ offers. There's been one unicorn in the bunch. So if you're only hitting 2, 3, 4 offers, then often you might not get to the unicorn. You might just get some really solid offers, 5, 10, 15K over list. But the unicorn's the one that's like 30, 40, 50K over list. And they're like, whatever it takes, right? I will take whatever it takes to get this deal. That's the unicorn. That one unicorn can represent you making the profit on one flip that you should have made on 2 flips. So it's the fastest way to double your profits is to get that one unicorn buyer. So when we look tomorrow, when we look at your deal, I want to look at comps with you, and we start looking at the MLS, we want to consider what price would it take to get an insane bidding war that would get enough people through and enough people to pull the trigger and make an offer that we can identify one unicorn. Unicorns, sometimes I've seen unicorns come in houses. Unicorns are weird, right? They'll come in, and if you're overpriced, they'll not even make an offer. But if you get them in, they're like, the reason they don't like to jump in and make offers because they know, they're like me. If I jump in, I try not to make offers on things unless I'm serious, because I know once I get in, I like to win. And that's what I found is a common denominator with the unicorns. They're competitive. They get in the deal, so they're very careful what they offer on. But when you do convince them to make an offer, they don't like to lose. So I'll quickly see them going from 220, full list to 250 because they're like, I'm not losing the deal. But as soon as you go 235 as a list, they won't make an offer because they're like, no, I don't want to pay 235. But if you get them in to 220, then now because they don't like to lose, they often pay more than they originally wanted to. So
Yeah.
it is definitely it's like that auction thing. You've seen it at the auction a million times. Oh, I'm only going to pay 300. 350 later, now here they are paying 350 because they didn't want to lose, right? It's one of the hardest things to overcome at the courthouse steps, right? Is not getting pulled into doing something stupid. Like you see everyone else doing, you're thinking, well, what do I miss? What am I missing, right? They must know something if everyone's bidding more. So that's kind of like the mentality that happens when you get enough people making offers. You create this mentality of, well, all these other people offering all this money must know something. Like, crap, why are they all offering so much? So, and there's there's a strong way I'm doing it. I'm communicating and I'm talking and I'm moving things up. I mean, I highly suggest when your life gets back to some level of normal that you should even consider getting your license. And,
we are.
It's something to be really, really worth it, because your price point you're selling at, like, you're talking like 7 to 10 grand in savings. And honestly,
per deal.
It's 7 to 10 grand in savings per deal. But really, when me and Ray looked at this with Hannah, it wasn't even about the commission. The commission was the small piece of it. It was about the fact that that Hannah was able to negotiate a lot more money than any realtor she had hired. Like, she hired the #1 KW realtor. He's doing 300 deals a year. And literally the first deal she did with me, like, managing her and telling her what to do, how to do it, she followed my instructions perfectly. She was able to get, like, they sell a lot of the same deals. She was able to get $15K more than the guy had gotten for the same deal 2 months, 3 months before that. And this guy's, remember, this is a champion, right? He's like, oh, I'm the best ever at the 300 deals a year. And I try to explain to them, and I tell everyone, like, those 300 deal guy years, they're not always good for you. They're just good at, like, doing a lot of volume. They're good at, getting a lot of high-end clients. But in order to do that many deals, you got to be really good at not spending a lot of time with your clients and not spending a lot of time on any one deal. The way I look at this is, I want to spend all the time in the world on every single deal so I can get the absolute most money for it. So there's, like, I'm doing a listed one for Nancy just recently, and we're like 45K over list right now. And honestly, there isn't a whole lot of comps that really support this with her size, but I think we're going to be okay. The guy told me, I got him to make me a verbal promise that if he was having any problems or issues with value, he would call me and talk through it with me. So I think we might be okay, but we don't worry about appraisals. We just worry about getting the most money. But the thing is, I don't care how much time it would have taken me to get this extra money. You can't even imagine. I kept Nancy in the loop somewhat, but I had so many back and forth phone calls. Like, one day when we were negotiating this number up, it was literally like 20 back and forth phone calls between the top people. The person ended up winning. I got them to 400. They had a $400,000 escalation, and I ended up getting them up to 420, 20 grand over their escalation. But the back and forth was insane. I got them to 410, then I got them to 420. We were cool at 410, and then I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get another 10K from them. And I let them sit for like an hour or two, and then next thing you know, I got another 10K, and I'm like, dude, what is freaking these people? And they were at a place where they were like, we will do anything. We lost the last couple deals, and we are not. We love this home. We will do whatever it takes to win this home. And that was the person. And we didn't have a ton of offers on this. So when we only had to, we ended up with 5 offers when it was said and done. But when we made this decision, we had like 2 or 3 in hand. But then 2 came in like as we made the decision. And I just didn't negotiate them because they were so much lower than our final outcome. And plus our final outcome was a quick settlement, strong buyers, just in general, the right people you want to work with, high credit, all the right stuff, fast home action, fast appraisal. They're doing everything right. They're going to be on a settlement very quickly. But the reality of this is, like, when we think about it, I could have spent my whole day doing this, and, I'm doing it for a commission, but I'm getting paid fairly well. I'm not complaining about that. But if it was my deal, like, dude, I could spend 8 hours negotiating this if it meant that I get an extra 10 or 15 grand, right? Where an agent cannot spend 8 hours working the numbers out and trying to get you. He could not stay in business for his commission trying to get you an extra 10 grand. Any agent, if you push them with the stuff that I teach you, would basically quit on you, is what we found. And this is how Hannah became her own agent. It wasn't because she wanted to be an agent, right? She became her agent because I was teaching her, much like I'll teach you. And this will be how you can start managing your agent as the first step. And when you start managing your agent, what you're going to find is that, okay, there's a lot of things they're not willing to do. And if they are willing to do all of them, then that's fine. There's no rush. But I'm finding that every time I teach a student on the proper way of doing it, the agent wants to follow about 50% of it. And the 50% they don't follow tends to sabotage you in a big way, like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, because they just want to be weak about it. And that's what Hannah's person was doing. And then Hannah and Ray got a little upset because they wouldn't go back and ask for highest and best the third time. Like that highest and best that I got her that extra 10 grand. She was a 410 and Nancy was happy at 400. I got the 410. She was really happy. And she's like, no, we're good. And I was like, fourth highest and best. I'm like, let me just take a free roll shot at it and just see. And I almost didn't think of it because I knew she was really happy and I was really happy. We're already 35K over list, but then I'm like, let me try a little more. And I'm not afraid to do that because I know how to do it. And most agents will not do it because their fear is if they do it, make a mistake, it falls apart, you're going to fire them or be mad at them. And there's just no real benefit to them, right? There's all risk, no reward. Well, they're going to get a teeny bit more commission, but if it all goes bad, they're going to look like jerks, right? So, but when it's our rehab and we're doing it for ourselves, then we could really fight hard for it. So like, obviously if I'm listing something for you, or you could train your agent to work like I'm working, then you're fine. I think the path of least resistance most of the time, if you're not like, if I'm not, I can't list for you, which I can't because you're in, in San Diego, then the path of least resistance is just for you to get your own license, because I'm telling you, Hannah with her own license did really well and still doing very well. Michael Chow's wife, everyone who ends up getting their license eventually is able to figure this out within 3 to 6 months. And again, none of these people wanted to get their license. They just didn't have a choice because their agents were sucking so bad. And I was getting butthurt, honestly, because of the money they were leaving on the table. It was really starting to like upset me almost. I was like, holy crap. I'd like go back and ask them for highest and best. I literally was getting on the phone, coaching the agents. I was giving them scripts of what to say. One agent, I was even like, you know what? I'm going to write the email for you. If you don't feel comfortable calling them, I'm going to write an email. All you got to do is copy and paste it, put your name at the bottom. And she said, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I'm like, I was like, told my students, like, you got to fire this person. This is insane.
Wow.
They got like a full price offer. They first of all, a lady listed it for 100K over what it was worth. It sat on the market for 5 months, no offers, barely any showings. They put it at 360. I looked at it. I'm like, dude, it's like 260. So they were like, how about 269? I'm like, okay, that's a good start. So they went 90K down. They got an offer pretty quickly. It went about 7 days. They got an offer for full price. And I'm like, cool, let's negotiate. Let's start now we can get started on the negotiation. And the lady's like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. They're giving us full price. That's unprofessional to negotiate at this point. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm professional as you listing it for 90K more than any comp that had ever sold in the history of this neighborhood. Like there's literally, you go 1,000 days back and like 5 miles out, and there was like no comp that ever sold for that. I have no clue what the incompetency was of like where she was coming from with this. Anyhow, they fired her, and they use me now, and they use better people that are willing to negotiate, because I don't really care if it's me, it's someone else. I just want to make sure you're not leaving that money on the table. So we'll go over that tomorrow, and we'll be able to dig into that in good detail.
Cool.
And then we'll figure all the rest out, because just make sure you're getting the most money out.
Yeah. Was reading somewhere, I think it might have been Bigger Pockets. I know you're a halfway fan of that outfit, but there was something that we're putting in, I think maybe in a clause that if the property didn't appraise, would you be willing to actually give us a commitment of a certain amount of money, or be willing to bring more cash to the table? What are your thoughts on that? Is that kind of, would that scare them away off the beginning, or is that kind of a good idea, or what do you?
So here's the way I look at it. I think when you put that clause in, you get less money, but you can always ask, right? Like, here's the thing. There's nothing you can't ask for. And,
right.
So if you get to like 420, you could easily say, hey, let's do an appraisal contingency. I don't generally ask because I don't have a lot of appraisal issues. Because just like, I'll teach you a very step-by-step system to get the most money. There's a very step-by-step system of how I get things to appraise. And it's very important. I meet every appraiser. I hand them comps. Right now, when I don't meet them, I send them emails. Like my mom actually left the comps on, he didn't want to meet us because he didn't have a time. So we left the comps on the countertop, and then we emailed them to him. And then then he agreed to call me, and if he had any issues with anything. So I always make sure they know where we need to be. I make sure they have comps to support where we need to be. And then I always give them a budget that's like double or more. It's pumped up. I think on Nancy, she spent like 100 and I gave him like 150K budget. Like, I just made the budget up for her. I don't even know how accurate it was, but I knew mostly what she did. So, I mean, I could figure out the budget kind of, like to make something up for the appraiser, which justifies. So it shows him that she bought it for 230, put 150 in. Now she's selling it for 420. They don't like to see too much profit, right? Because then the bank gets weird if there's too much. And they never question your budget ever. I've never had them.
No, never. So, no. Okay. Yeah, I just figured I'd throw that out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we do and say the right thing. Ray has done that a few times and gotten away with it. I found that here in Maryland, it's not as traditional, but where you are, it probably is. So you have a little higher end agent where you are. So there might, you have more cash buyers, people with more cash. Here, we tend to have a lot of people that are really cash poor buying houses.
Okay.
California, for whatever reason, the few people I've coached in California and I've reviewed their offers, they do seem to be more cash coming to deals, and it's probably higher price points, probably why. It's often required to have more cash. I mean, we'll see deals where people are putting like, buying a house for 400K and they're virtually putting nothing down.
Yeah.
So it's 200, 300K. They're really not trying to bring a bunch of money. So the thing is, if they could put that in there, most of the time, the reason people locally in Baltimore won't agree to that, they don't have the cash to back that up.
Yeah.
It require them to bring more cash. So if someone has a lot of cash they're putting in, then that would be easily a clause you could negotiate. Someone's putting like 80K down, then they might be able to put 70K down and make up for 10 grand. But most of our people are putting like 10K down, and that's like, that's like some quarters in there and stuff. It's a piggy bank's like rounding it up to 10K. They got about $150 in rolls of quarters. So it's kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah, they're shaking the couch out. I mean, it's generally like I think most people would gladly put that clause in. They just have no ability to actually follow through.
I got you. Yeah, that's a good point. Like if they're showing that they're putting a lot of money down, they probably got more to cover that. Yep. So I got you.
So it's a really good thing to keep in mind when you're negotiating. If you see that someone's putting a decent amount of cash down, like 100 grand or something, and that's pretty common in California because they might be selling another house and have a lot of cash from that house. Your price points are higher, which usually people have got some cash before they try to buy.
Sure.
Baltimore, where they're $200,000 to $300,000 houses, we're not seeing as much cash down. So people are pretty cash poor overall.
Okay.
We just focus on good credit, good job, good secure, essential job, and and they have enough cash. Obviously, cash is not usually going to kill a deal, as long as they got enough to get in.
Cool. All right.
Cool. Nancy, how's everything going?
It's going well. So far, so good. Just trying to keep Bodkin moving forward and getting everything taken care of with amphibians so we can close and put some money in our pockets. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. It's a really
But
good.
thank you for talking to Jim because he needed your guidance on what he struggles with, which is not letting go and doing all the work himself, or a lot of it.
Alec, do you find that you do that sometimes? Like you end up kind of diving in and doing work yourself, or get pulled too much into your rehabs?
With what's going on with the COVID and my wife, this last one I did. I actually, a good buddy of mine, my best friend from back east, he's a contractor, and he came in, and we had two other people in this house, and we pretty much just rattled through it just to keep my exposure, a bunch of people coming in, but that's going to end. I got another one going in escrow today, and I want to create a funnel and kind of employ all that stuff and keep busy. So, I can do it, right? And it's kind of a curse, like having a pickup truck, and I end up getting pulled in more than I would like to. So I think my goal is, if I can bring my volume up even a little bit, I'd be able to I'd be okay with not touching a hammer or, whatever for
sure.
Whole deal. So, yeah.
Well, I told Nancy that Jim's doing the same thing where he's doing enough work that's keeping him really busy. But sometimes it's easy for us to pick a hammer up and just do something ourselves. And it's because we think we have time to do it. And when we never realize some of the things we could be doing that we're not currently doing. So for obviously deal flow purposes, there's probably another level of prospecting that could be happening to get more
Sure.
deal flow. There's also probably another level of job costing that could be done to cut costs down. There's
Yeah.
another level of how much you can be involved in the selling of the property. All these little details are like the 3 profit multipliers. And when you really dial in all those profit multipliers, you'll see anywhere from 5 to 25 grand additional profit on a deal simply because you just really focused on the right things. What I found is when I get too ultra involved in my flips, which I have the same problem as Jim and you and Michael Chow and Ray, we're all cut from the same cloth. Like I will literally get a hammer and just start doing it. It's kind of fun for me. It also gives me the instant gratification of like moving it forward. When I get impatient, I'm just like, all right, let's move it forward. And I'm like, and it's not good. What I'm doing now, and this is what I was talking to Jim about, what I do now is I will be there a lot, move it forward, but I make sure that I'm not doing any actual labor. And what I can do is I can be more of the guy pushing it forward with strategy, right? Like you do this, you do that, we need someone to knock this out so we're not being held up. Hey, these windows are taking a really long time. Like right now we're finding that like HVAC units are in shortage. Across the country, gas, you can get electric ones pretty easy. So anything that's a little bit of a shortage and they're having supply chain issues, we want to order like right away. And I'm just like pushing, right? I'm going there. Like I stopped today when I had a break between our calls and I went out, seen 2 properties and I was like, hey, you do this, you do that. And I was just pushed, made sure I'm making sure my guys are staying focused. So that's like my leverage, right? Is making sure they're doing the right thing. And I become like their manager. And what you'll find is that because of your knowledge and your ability to know how to do it, you could be like a top-notch like manager, right? Because you have experience that most house flippers don't because you have swung the hammer and done some stuff. So where it's like a curse to know how to do it, it actually is a gift used correctly. Where it becomes the curse is when you actually just get in there and start doing stuff. And next thing you know, there's not enough hours in the day. You think you're doing everything you should be doing, but reality is a handful. Michael Chow tells me all the time that he's super busy. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't sign up to work this much. Like I want to hire a project manager. And I'm like, well, instead of hiring, like you're only doing like 2 flips at a time. First of all, you're doing like 8 flips a year. So like, I could not wake up until 12 and work till like 3 doing 8 flips a year. And I could just be like 3 hours a day and I'd be good. Cause like I've learned how to like delegate. That isn't me like 7 years ago. No, 7 years ago, I was too involved. And one of the luxuries when I started scaling with my partner was he's like, hey, we can't build our business if you don't get out of the way. He's like, you're in your own way. So I had to literally fire myself. I had to fire myself to get out of the way of these things. So now I do believe that like a strategic hour or 2 a day to really get things dialed in and get them thoughtful. Like here's what's going to happen today, tomorrow, and the next day. Right? Here's the things if I can knock these out. Here's where I'm short on manpower. Here's who I need to get. Here's how I can get somebody doing the outside, some guys working on the inside, so I can get this thing done in 4.5 weeks versus 8 weeks. Things like that is where I realize my superpower is, and it's highly leverageable, right? It's a really good use of my time. What I got to be cautious of is the gratification of swinging a hammer and helping. Now, if you've never done it, like for Micah, great, use Micah as an example, and even Nancy too, like if she's out there, like getting involved in doing some of the work is pretty cool if you've never done it. Because, there's 2 sides of this coin. There's people that get overly involved, and that's a curse. And then there's people that don't want to be involved at all. So Michael might lean towards, I'd like to just be turnkey. You just call me when it's done, right? And so now what he wants to do is get more involved. And what people are too involved want to get less involved. It's always about that middle balance of being like in that perfect place. I started off way too involved. The benefit of being way too involved is I understand construction enough to be able to lead people. And so if you're not involved enough, then you will struggle leading good contractors and identifying them. And it doesn't, so over time, you'll pick bad people. And I'm sure Micah's picked some bad people. I've picked more than I can even count over my years of people that were just like, I thought were pretty cool and they end up being weirdos. Totally just part of like how you learn, right? That's real life experience. So you got to get in the mix, right? So you can get that experience. But what happens quickly once you have that experience, it's this compounding effect of every time you pick up a good person, you're able to be like, oh, cool. That person now can take a lot of my day-to-day off of me. They can go to Home Depot and get stuff. They can run and get a tool, or they can, give me a FaceTime video to tell me what needs to be done today. So I generally am just making sure my guys know what to do the next 24 to 48 hours. That's it. I don't book like 2 weeks in advance because I find that that's really difficult to do. So I'm not booking 2 weeks in advance because I don't know. I just find things change too much. and it seems like a waste of my time. But I like to book somewhere between like 2 to 4 days at max. So, and that's a perfect. And then every 2 to 4 days, I'm checking in and saying, okay, what is really important to be done? What went well? What didn't go well? What do we need to fix? What do we need to get onto? What's the next thing we're going to do? And I'm doing that as the GC. And that's why I like to call myself the GC, because I'm making these higher level decisions. And my guys love that because they don't like to make those higher level decisions. You can't learn to make those decisions though until you've been in the mix. So it is, yes, you do have to get in and work a little bit with them. So when we think that we have time to look at bad deals or time to go down this rabbit trail or that rabbit trail, we generally don't have that time, right? We really don't, because our time could be used to learn, for like Micah and Nancy would be to learn the business a little bit more, the construction piece of it. So that way you take that problem and you make it a strength instead of a problem. It could be getting better deal flow. It could be getting more money on the back end. There's a lot of things that will really push the business forward, and you're going to see like Ray and Hannah this year on track to do over 400K in net income off of like 9 deals. That's it. That's them. But we've been working together a while, and we've been really honing into 3 profit multipliers. And Ray still is a little too involved, but he's getting it right. He's starting to let loose a little bit. He'll tell you, he's like, I'm letting loose some and getting better with it. And that letting loose is making his income skyrocket, because he's making sure he has time to keep proper deal flow, and he's making sure that he has time to get his costs down and keep his houses moving quickly. And those things, they eat a lot of time. That's your full-time job. So when you think you're going to be the manager, right, that's your full-time job. When you're doing the work, you're the technician. So, you're the technician and the manager. You got to be both. We want you to be the technician enough to learn the position, and then we want you to go to manager. And then eventually where you're like, where I would say I'm at is that, the third level of E-Myth is the entrepreneurial person. That's the person that runs the business. So that's actually looking at your finances, looking at your cash flow, looking at, analyzing deals. It's going to be all the high level important stuff. So at some level, you're probably doing all 3 positions right now. And so it's tough to do all 3. And it'd be nice to maybe work towards getting rid of the first position and getting more focused on the managing and the entrepreneurial piece, which is, your books, understanding your stuff, and really a high level view of like your money, how it's working for you, how you're actually sitting financially. Big important piece, right? Very, very important piece. I'm only just getting to that. So 11 years in, I'm only getting to that high level piece, because I so easily get caught up in the day to day, and I enjoy the day to day. But I got to be cautious, because that can be my curse too, that I'll just sit there and mess with that stuff I enjoy, like designing the properties and doing all that. But then my books aren't all as clear as they need to be. So that's the stuff that you want to kind of start leveling up with, and it'll be really healthy, because all the things we talked about, deal flow, everything. Some things you're doing super well right now, obviously raising capital and everything. You got a good handle on that. Now it's just about speeding the process up, selling them for more on the back end. So we'll go over that some tomorrow. Micah, man, how's everything going? I just talking a little bit about just firing yourself. For you, you might actually hire yourself, right? It's a little different for each person, because each person has a little different way they look at it. And, some people like to be less involved. Michael Chow actually he's too involved now, but he dreams of being not involved at all. And I'm like, it actually is somewhere in the middle, right? It's kind of like being involved enough to keep control of your business and your money and your investment, but, just doing the minimum amount that keeps you safe. And so that's just, not letting you get busy. I'm sure you probably ran into this on your last flip. You get busy. We tend to get like wrapped up with other people's stuff and other things we're doing in our lives. And then we kind of don't see our flip for like a week or 2. And then when we come back, we're generally never happy with what happened in that time. I know I run it all the time when I get super busy doing something like a big webinar or a 3-day event coming up. I won't look at the flips for a few weeks. And what I'm finding is I always come back and I'm like, crap, this is totally not like, I'm not happy with this. Right. Yeah. So I've had to make a commitment to myself that no matter what I'm doing, I will not let 2 weeks go by without me really attending to my flips, regardless if my project manager is working it, whatever. I literally need like 3 times a week to look at what's going on and push 3 times a week. I've been keeping that healthy routine since COVID started, and my income in my bank account has skyrocketed because of it.
If you have a project manager out there, what about a FaceTime? I mean, I'm sure you've done all this, right? Like, what's your experience with doing FaceTime? Do you really have to be out there?
Yeah, FaceTime's good. It's a good second alternative. I'd say you want to go to the house once a week minimum. And then maybe FaceTime's work is like a, plan B. Yeah, FaceTime's real good to see what's going on. You can't really see all the fine details with FaceTime, but you can get an idea. It's like if you're not, if you're sometimes, especially if it's far away, you're working 30, 40 minutes away, you might not want to spend too much time traveling. Um, I like being there as much as possible, especially if it's a newer crew that I'm just starting to build a relationship with, because as I go there and we work together and, I help manage them and support them and push them in the right direction, it becomes FaceTime, right? It becomes like, no pun intended. I know we're talking about doing FaceTime, but it becomes like real life interaction and FaceTime with them. And that's how you build relationships with core key people to your business. So most people, I try to explain this to people when I talk about bringing in great teams of contractors, and that's being like getting a 2 or 3 person crew who can knock your flips out for you. Like a 2 or 3 person crew is worth about $150,000 to $180,000 a year to you, because they can literally do about 5 or 6 flips a year. So that crew, when we think about it, we're always like, hey, we always don't think of them that way. When you think of a crew being worth $180K to you, there should never be a time you don't bring them coffee, right? And when you really think about like what we're gaining from a great crew and how much money they can make us, and how valuable of an asset they are, like literally a good person, not the crazy nutty people, but we should almost always be thanking them for the work they're doing. And that doesn't mean we let them off the hook for the stuff they're not doing well. We start with thanking them for everything, coming from a place of gratitude and appreciation for what they're doing, because like they represent a solid living for us. One crew can represent that for you. You get 2, you start making some serious money, right? You really start making some serious money. But even one crew, and let's just say you had one crew and you're averaging 40K a flip and they're doing 6 flips a year for you. That's like $240,000, gross. But, if you're like a one-man team with your wife, you're not going to have a lot of overhead. So something to think about. And I find that the more appreciative I am of my people when they do a good job, the more that's it's very contagious for them. They tend to live up to the person I tell them they are. Right. So I run around like, oh, you messed this up, man. Oh man, look at this corner. Can you fix this? Do that. Oh man, that's a mess. That door's crooked. They live up to that. Right. It almost like puts that energy out into the world for them. Even though at some point I'm going to have that conversation. I've been teaching Ray and a lot of people to start with, dude, you're doing a great job. Oh man, I can see you're working super hard. Hey, thank you for coming on time today. Anything they've done well, man. I really appreciate it. We're excited to work with you. Hey, when you're done this, I got another job sitting and waiting for you. Cool, man. Hey, do that's 10 or 15 minutes. Oh, here's the coffee I brung you, or donuts or whatever. Try to bring them some healthier. Coffee's probably better. Get them working harder. Donuts will make them fall asleep.
Yeah.
Don't bring them any carbs. Bring them only energy drinks. There's some Red Bulls. A case of Red Bulls I brung you. Like flip will be done in 4 days. That, some speed. I got some Adderall. I think there's Red Bulls and Adderall for you to take. It'll be good. So, you bring them stuff, but you really it's more of a gesture of your appreciation. And then when you're done, like actually building rapport and having that conversation, and believe me, at no level, I can walk in the house and be like, what the F? I still try to do that before I give them the bad news. Because what I find is they take the bad news in a much more positive way when I've started the conversation off right. Because it's not manipulative. It's just that if I come from gratitude, I deliver the bad news in a much more pleasant way. But when I go and I just get shit off my chest, which I can do, this is definitely my weakness, is I walk in, I just instantly, my brain's so quick thinking that I can walk in and be like, what the F? Like, why is there a freaking red bridge behind you, Micah? Like, what in the hell? Like, how did you get to San Francisco? What's the deal with the clouds? Like, we're not supposed to have clouds there. I can walk in and just like nitpick a place apart instantly, because that's the way my brain is so fast to find the problems. And so I have to train myself to like, build that rapport, and then when I finally do say things, it goes from me sounding like I'm berating them to being like, hey man, so cool. Let's, you want to take some time and like walk through and just see what we can tighten up, if there's anything we can make look nicer. And they're all, oh yeah, let's do it. And it's so non-confrontational, but I have to have the discipline though to start. The times when that does not work like that is when Mike gets in there and he gets impatient and I get in there and act like a jerk. Because I just, my default is to get in there and be impatient and just like, oh man, I don't have time for this. So that's a really big thing. And when we think about contractors, that's kind of what we want to do. I have a project manager, but he doesn't really project manage. He's like my assistant. I let him be my project manager for years and my houses were a mess. Now I realize we're project management team, right? That's the best way to look at it. Because I used to think like, well, I'm paying him. Why do I have to do it? And now I realize, well, there's certain things I'm good at, and there's certain things he's really good at. Like we're a good team together. With separately, we have holes, right? There's things he's consistent with, I'm not. There's things that I can figure out quickly that he just can't make the decision on. He doesn't like to make decisions. I'm a quick decision maker. So there's certain things I'm really good at and certain things he's not. So we're better off as a team. Me and Nancy talked about her and Jim being a team, right? Because there's certain things Nancy's really good at. There's certain things Jim's good at. But as a team, they're pretty powerful as a team because they can start, like over time, they'll become a very strong team. And there'll be things that Nancy just naturally are just better at, right? And the things that Jim's naturally better at. And eventually you guys won't have to feel so out of character doing each other's gifts, right? There's things I do for Steve that I've been training him for like 8 years and he still can't do very well. And I come in, it's like, Dad, it's done in 5 minutes. It's like, no problem. Like I even enjoy doing it at some level. So I just had to wrap my head around doing it instead of like, deciding like counting beans and deciding, oh, well, that's not my job. So it had to take more of a team effort. And when you work with contractors, think of them as a team, right? You're like a team with them and know that they're your labor. They're the ones who do the work, but you're the quality control person. You're the person that tells them how to do the work. You're the person that organizes what order they do the work, what job they're going to do first, what line item. You're basically their manager and you're their guide. And if you don't think of yourself as part of their team, then you'll get in a very like, if something goes wrong, that's their fault, not mine. But here's the reality. When my house goes 12K over budget, that's my fault. I wrote the checks. You know what I mean? I allowed the system that allowed them to spend that money. I'm a part of the team, right? If I blame them, then it means I'm not actually part of the team. And it takes accountability away from the only thing I can control, which is my actions. So if my actions did not lead to them doing the right thing, then I need to fix my actions, right? If I didn't put the right system in place to stop them from buying too many 2x4s or doing something backwards, then that's on me. I need to work on that because I'm part of the team. So you can do that, right? We need your agents to be part of your team. We need everyone to take that team mentality of like, we all work together. When you do that, then you don't worry much about helping others and working with others. I don't mind getting in and helping people get their day organized and figure out what they're going to do. Because I do that for 20, 30 minutes, Alec, right? And that's the thing I was talking about. If you do that for 30 minutes a day, like you'll see your guys just flourishing, right? Because they have that guidance, they have that clarity of what you want. There's this good like back and forth feedback loop of communication that's happening well. And it's like 30 minutes, but as soon as you start doing the work with them, then it turns into like hours a day, whole days, right? Even. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. So that's all stuff we were talking about. What does anybody got? Any general questions I can help with? How about you, Nancy? Anything that you're working on or need some?
No, I tried to reach out to the daughter again of Alabama, and she has not gotten back to me, but I want to ask her if there's anything that I can do for the, maybe the family, just try to get to a point where she and I can have a conversation. But I think the real person I need to talk to is the mom. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it right now because I figure they're kind of in the crisis mode with the surgery and everything. And just, start looking for our next, another property. I mean, it might fall apart, so I'm not going to not pursue it vigilantly. Oh, that's my cat.
Black cat. That can't be good luck now. The black cat.
She's the sweetest. She is the sweetest. She sits in my lap.
Sweetest devil. She's from Satan, though, isn't it?
No, there's nothing Satan-y about anything in my life. But yeah, so I'm just trying to really take things off Jim's plate, do all the contractor funnels, call all the contractors. I like him to be somewhat involved at the very end, when there are clearly 2 or 3, well, really 2 fantastic choices. And we kind of do it all on phone. I'm firing him from doing all of this stuff. I'm not letting him go to, show them the property. that kind of thing. So trying to get him not to waste a lot of time. But he's still not on this call, as you can see. So he's still over at either Bodkin or Amphibian. But the chimney is pretty much done except for the waterproofing. I got an email from Capital Chimney. And thank you for referring us to them, because I think they did some incredible work. And Jim even got their one of their gentlemen who did some of the masonry, the point up on the outside of the chimney, which looks beautiful, to redo the bricks that he had tried to put in where the old duck was in the back of the house. And he redid it for like $30. Jim got slipped him some cash.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, nothing else that we're really worried about, but he is going to call our kind of go-to. I call him Jim's assistant, Sydney, that's replaced an old guy that just isn't responding and getting back to us in a timely fashion. So we're replacing him with this really great young dad that's a go-getter that wants to, do whatever he can to make money. So
everybody's up to speed with Nancy's talking about. Sydney is a guy that he's going to be doing like odds and ends for him. So he's got good attitude. And I was talking to Mike about this, talking to Ray about this a little bit. It's always good to have somebody on your team. Ray actually has this guy, and we talked about this a long time ago, and he brought in a guy that does like his he can do like plumbing and electric, but light stuff. He doesn't like replumb a whole house or rewire a whole house, but he can, most of Ray's houses don't need to be replumbed, but he can, you can put cabinets in and, hook up vandies and toilets and stuff and, all the lights and everything. And this guy can also do other things. So Ray basically gets this guy kind of almost project managing for him, and he becomes like his what we call assistant, a project manager. So he's on the ground, he's working though. And how we pay those people is we don't pay them for the helping us to manage. We give them the choice of work they like to do, that's work that they're making the most money with, which is like really good pay for people, because there's some things that contractors will do and they make like $1,000 a week. And there's other things they can make $2,000 a week because they're that much better at it, right? But the problem is they don't often know the difference. They don't know what their $2,000 a week labor is and their $1,000 a week is. So they'll just sign up for all the $1,000 a week labor you give them. And your job as the GC is to say, like, what's your $2,000 a week labor? Like, where are you going to make more money? And let me just give you all that. Like, so Ray knows what that is. The guy's really good at the electric, the plumbing, and a lot of other little things. And so this guy really helps Ray kind of not be in the house as much. And, Ray has said that he's a good guy and he really helps out a lot. So Nancy's looking for a similar dude like that. Alex, same thing. You can find someone, as long as you have enough houses that you can take this guy or girl from house to house, then you're good to go. I mean, so I have them do everything from cutting grass, like a little bit of touch-up paint, putting doorknobs in, vandies. They can install cabinets sometimes, whatever we need them to do, essentially. If there's something like right now, I just had a basement flood out because a water heater was broke. And we had someone's ripping all the sheetrock out and fixing it all and tearing the carpet up. And then we'll have the carpet guy come back. But while they're there, I got them cutting the grass, cleaning the yard up, doing the inspection repairs. So, you can get them to do a lot of your inspection stuff and all that, but it's just nice to have someone when we're talking about like strategically looking at the board every day, right? Like think of it as like a game board, a chess board that we look at every day. Like what's our next move? What is our best next strategic move? Then once you decide it, it's your job to decide it, but then it's Sydney's job and Ray's guy, which I don't know his name. It's their job to actually go implement it for us, to make the move for us. Our job is to figure out the best next move, right, through strategy, but then we have to have people go do it. And often having someone that you can think today and say, today would be best to do X. And we can say, hey, Sydney, I need you to do this today, or hey, I need you to do this tomorrow, right? We don't want to be running funnels all the time to try to get people to do little odds and ends. So in this person, because they are, in your inner circle now and you're very close with them and you work closely, you keep them busy, you let them make money, they get the check they need every week. And you're not paying them as employees, but they're going to do enough line items to make the money they want. And then they're just going to assist you because they're good people. And they like it. A lot of times they like a little power, right? They like, oh man, yeah, hey, Alec, they're doing this, man. The guy didn't show up today. They love that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Turn them into an informant. They don't even know. It's like an unpaid informant. Guys I hate are the ones that are like, I'm like, yeah, dude stole the HVAC. And then the guy's like, yeah, man, I seen him putting it in his truck, but I didn't want to say anything. I'm like, I should fire you too, man. Like, would you help him?
Yeah.
You know how many times I hear that after someone quits or does something stupid, everybody's like, yeah, I knew he was doing that, but I didn't want to say nothing. I'm like, where's your loyalties lie at, man?
Yeah.
But anyhow, so yes, you can get into like that person, and that person, like if you're doing anywhere from like 6 to 8 houses a year, you can always afford this person because they don't really cost anything, right? You think about it, you're not really paying them. They do work for the money they get paid. They just, you know, you have someone, if you need to do a $100 job, they can go do it in a couple hours for you instead of you getting a bunch of random people. And, you know, they're leveraged, that you can point them in the right direction. They fill in gaps, right? They just run around filling a lot of gaps so you can keep everything going. This person I have doing that for me is Kim, and she basically will break down the staging for me. She can do almost anything, but I don't get her doing. She's a little slow by herself, so I don't have her doing heavy duty, like whole house trim or anything, but certainly could put like a room of trim in. She could put in a couple cabinets or a vanity. She can do some tiles necessary, you know, demo she can help with. So she's just doing odds and ends, cutting grass. I got her cutting grass right now because, like, you know, grass seems like it's growing like I've never seen grass grow before. So you cut it, a week later, it needs to be cut again. So she does whatever's necessary. And I'm just Steve, my project manager, just has to let her know where to go, what to do. And I let him know what to do. So it's good to have that person. Nancy's working on it. That person can actually replace Jim. That person could probably replace you a little bit, Alec, like the work you're doing. That person could easily be the person who could do a lot of the odds and ends you were doing.
Yeah. Sure.
And then you can put your time into finding your next deal. You can put your time into optimizing your sale, and then, you know, your time into, like, you know, seeing where you might be leaving money on the table during your renovation. And you'll speed everything up, which helps, because one area we all leave money on the table is how fast we get things done. So I notice if I focus on every house 3 times a week, whether it's a Zoom, I mean, like a Facebook call or Facebook Live or any, I mean, like a FaceTime call or anything like that, or go see the property. I don't have to necessarily, but I'm just focusing on the best strategic next move. Then I've never seen a house get out of whack that way. Because you think about it, any problem that's holding a house up, it really goes away if you're thinking about it 3 times a week. There's like, name any problem in the world and it gets fixed if you're thinking about it 3 times a week. Well, as quickly as possible. Now, when we had 12 houses going on about 18 months ago, and we had this PG problem where we had, like, somebody was supposed to be getting a permit for us because we didn't have a permit person down there, and they kind of ripped us off for like $800, and they just never got it. And they kept saying they were going to do it next week, and we're going to do this. Yeah, next thing I know, my project manager, because he was busy with other deals and we weren't focusing on these, like 3 months went by and he didn't get the permits. And next thing you know, it took us like 9 months to renovate the house. And this is supposed to be like a 4 month renovation turned into 9 months. And so that was bad. And it was a bunch of, every time he ran into a wall, he just stopped and focused on the other 11 houses and left that one sit. So that is a very common occurrence I've noticed with him, because when he runs into a wall, he will actually, I'll see him finish flips that I just bought 7 weeks ago and then have another flip that I've owned for 5 months. So I do inventory management now, where I'm like, if we have something that we've owned too long, all hands on deck on that property to move it off the board. Old inventory, never good, right? Like, you have something you've owned too long, then sense of urgency, highly important, right? We got to move it, and at all costs. So that's the big thing we're doing now. And if I do that 3 times a week, I've no problems. He's the best project manager ever. But if I don't talk to him for a month, I don't know. Probably not going to be the case. He slowly but surely goes back to his pattern of selectively focusing on some things and not on everything. So that's probably like contractor stuff. So I know you said, so that's what she's working with Sydney. Ray's got a guy. Micah's probably, going to be working on that next time. He's getting ready to do like his second flip with us. He's did a bunch in the past, but he had someone else managing. So he's kind of building his management. And Micah, you could get someone like that if you wanted to. That's, just getting, I think you kind of have like that one guy that you sold the trailer to. He feels like he's kind of like that guy.
I mean, in my model, my vision, I have that guy, right? Because but Christine's that really right now. Christine's like training to be that person. What you say?
Well, she's more your infield manager, but will she do work? I mean, because she do like general little odds and ends. So that person can do work, and that's how they pay themselves.
Gotcha. Okay.
But they also, like, they give you some feedback. They're like your eyes on the ground.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like I can do it all guy, right? You're pretty good at a lot of little things, and they fill in gaps for you. But because they're just one person, they can't take on a 200 sheetrock job. but they
No,
certainly
no,
could
no.
go patch a couple walls or something, right? They'd be perfect for that.
You know, we had a guy like that over at Martin, and in the end, he just was a little bit too much of a wimp and too dramatic, you know. But I liked him for a little while. But after a couple of weeks, he just got a little babyish,
Yeah, it
and
happens.
a little victim oriented. And I was like, you know what, F this guy. It's just it started out well.
Mhm.
He was like our drywall solution, but then he started working like crazy long hours, and we weren't paying him by the hour. He was just working crazy, but he was doing good work. He was just slow. And I liked him. And then what we're talking about right now, I sort of like saw this guy falling into that place. But after seeing his attitude fade off quickly, you know, my dad used to say, a new broom sweeps clean. That was that guy. After a while, it stopped sweeping clean.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you know, that's why. So when we bring that guy in, that position, you fall into that position over time. We never, like Michael's like, hey, do I interview for that? I'm like, nah, man, just take somebody that's doing little odds and ends. It's a one-man crew. So
Yeah.
he's not going to be doing big jobs anyhow, and someone who's pretty handy in general. But the core value that you're looking for, and this is what Nancy has with her guy, is just a good person that's willing to do whatever it takes. So the first thing you look for is, like you said, the guy's whining about doing stuff. First thing I look for is people who are like, oh, yeah, you told me to do this, but I did a couple extra things. Or you ask them to do some stuff, and they're like, sure, whatever you need. Like, no complaints, right? They're not whining about things, because the whining stuff gets old really quick. And when you start constantly switching what they're doing, they got to be okay just letting you tell them what to do, kind of thing. Because if they're always like, well, I thought I was doing this today, or, oh, man, you got me running and doing that thing. I don't like doing that thing. You know, they got to be like, I tell my guys to go do something. It's like, okay. There's never like, oh, I don't know. You know, maybe tomorrow. I ain't sure. Do we can get someone else to do that? Because they honestly, the people are like that got fired like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Because I don't do well with that. Because I'm like, shit, this needs to be done. And I tell you to go do it. I just need you to be like, we're in the Army, right? You just got a direct order, dude. Go do it. Because I'm taking the time to really think through what the right step is. So I just need people that'll actually go do what I ask them to do. You know, so, and that starts with attitude. So one thing I told Nancy, this person generally is not the highest skilled. So they can do a lot of little things. They're pretty good at what they do, but we don't need like this 30-year expert that's just like, oh man, my work is perfect. Like when people start talking all crazy like that, I want someone who is going to do the work and really try hard. And if they make a mistake, is going to be willing, like you come in and say, hey, can you clean that up and do this? They're going to be like, no problem. I prefer someone who will fix their mistakes over someone who will not make mistakes. Because what I'm finding is that I don't think there's the possibility with a rehab to not make mistakes. As good as, you know, I've tried for years. I worked on this like, oh, I'm going to make it perfect. I'm going to cut all mistakes out. They cost money. Dude, that's not real. That was like a weird journey I was on that never ever came to fruition. Like it just isn't possible. Now we can minimize mistakes. And that is very much worth doing, but we have to leave room for people to make mistakes. And then, so if we know that part of the equation is our guys making mistakes, then it actually becomes an important part of the equation that we have to anticipate how they'll handle those mistakes. Does that make sense? Like if they'll handle them well, then that's going to be a really cool person to work with and someone we really want to be part of the team. So that's kind of what I go for, is if someone has a general pleasant attitude, they're capable, they're willing to learn, they're willing to fix anything they do wrong. And, you know, it's not like, I've had people I've hired for this position where they did everything wrong all the time forever. They never got better. But I've also, the people who worked out the best were like, they mess something up, they fix it, and then they get better. And then they, you know, as long as they're improving, getting better, I'm okay with them making a mistake or two, as long as it's just part of learning. I've had some people that have done this position before the people doing it now, and they just made mistakes. And next week they made the same mistakes. Next week they made the same mistakes. So for some point, I'm like, I think they're just choosing to make the mistake. Like, you know, they know not to make it at this point. They just keep doing it. And it's like just a lack of caring or something. I really don't know what it is, because I struggled logically to understand it. I just know it was annoying to me, so I didn't deal with it much after that. I mean, I've dealt with it for like way too long, but then I eventually got someone who wouldn't do that to me. So you're looking for that good attitude, willing to fix stuff, pretty handy overall, or willing to learn how to fix something. Somebody who can like watch a YouTube video and go do something. You know, me essentially. That's what I went and watch YouTube video and figure out how to do cabinets. I'm sure you probably weren't a professional cabinet installer, but I'm sure you can do them now. Right? At some point you just figured it out, right? You just like got a book or a video or something. How did you learn to do cabinets? Were you like in construction before this, or? Yeah, were you in construction before this, or?
No, pretty mechanically inclined. So, just yeah. I mean, it was started doing them before YouTube, I guess, came on,
Yeah.
but that helps for sure. I mean, trying to fix something, there's almost nothing I don't think you could fix just from pulling up a video or something like that. Taking it
Yeah.
apart, taking some pictures, and bringing it to that one guy at Home Depot who is the master
Yeah.
plumber and
Yeah.
showing it to him. I mean, the camera and that all is just like so powerful because it's like, oh, I know exactly what you need, and and you're piggybacking on his 30 years of plumbing knowledge. I mean, when you can leverage that kind of stuff, it makes things really easy. So,
Yeah, I like that, going to Home Depot and being able to just talk with one of the experts. That's actually pretty smart too. So
there's always one, at least 9 to 5 or 8 to 3, or if you can get there, then you're gonna be able to know which one is the guy to talk to. So there's a guy named Reggie's tall black guy at Home Depot I'm usually at, and he just knows everything. He's super nice guy to talk to. It's and he'll tell me if they don't have it. He'll tell me which special plumbing supplier has it, and he'll probably So it's I mean, it works really well. So
yeah, that's a great resource. That's a good one to have. And so that's the whole idea around this, is just get someone who can get your stuff moving forward. So you want to be able to like ramp up your manpower and ramp it down as necessary. So I kind of have that now, where if we get to like, we decided recently, we got a bunch of new properties and my uncle's getting ready to start working on them. And I was like, nope, don't work on them. Let's finish up these 2 right here. You're only a couple weeks from finishing these, so I want you to put all your energy and manpower into that. And then here's just a couple things we'll do to prep those properties so the guys can go right to them when they're done these. But I want these 2 properties on the market so I can get my money back. And we put all their on those 2 properties. One will be done like next week, and one will be like a week and a half from now. So yeah, they're moving, but now I get my money back. Now, easily he could have started those new properties, which would then extended the other properties out by weeks. And eventually, would have messed up my flow. So I notice I have to manage the overall flow of like my money. And so often when I'm deciding how to team people up on what project, I'm always like, what's the fastest project to get on the market? So like Ray's like, I just finished this one with the septic, and he's got one he'll be finishing soon. All your energy should be on your next project to finish, so you can keep money consistently coming in the door, so you're not having any financial issues. So, and then making sure once you finish those, then it's then always assessing when you need your next one. When is the next deal? So that's something to think about and always consider. And, you always want to be ahead of the game on that. You don't want to be looking for deals. You don't want to be looking for deals when after you need them. You want to be looking for them before you need them. So like Nancy, depending on how long it takes with your Alabama, there's a good chance you should go ahead and renovate Alabama. There's just a really good chance. And I mean, I told you, either way, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't sell it to Vinny. I'd be pissed about that, but I
would never do that.
Thank you. I know. I'm just saying, but don't sell it to him. But just because he's a stranger to us and the group, and like we're going to deal share with you here. But if it's something that the timing ends up being better for you, then like, yeah, just take it. It's fine. No big deal. And if you don't want it, then I'll take it. And then, I'll buy it. But we'll figure that out when this shakes loose, if it does. Because with the timing might be where you're almost like, I mean, you're starting to get to the other side of your current flip. So if you start thinking like a 3 to 4 week settlement, like that just might be perfectly set up for you right now. If it ends up taking a week or 2 to sign it up, I mean, you might be in the perfect place because what you don't want to do is sell it to me and make a couple bucks and then not have your next flip.
Right.
Because like, $6,500 is nothing compared to $30,000 or $40,000.
True.
Right?
And it'll be pretty straightforward.
It's a fairly easy flip too, in a really solid neighborhood. I've done a lot of flips in that neighborhood. I really like that area. Fairly convenient to you, not like overly far, so that's pretty decent. It's as good as it gets, honestly. Not going to cost you a big chunk of change to get into the deal. So by then Amphibian should be closed. And so, I think it would work out perfectly, but let's see how long it takes. You might be on to your next flip already by the time you close this one. So, but we'll leave the door open for that, because if that is what's best for you, I'll give you that advice, because I don't want you, often people, I think Ray said this to me a couple of times. He's like, I'm gonna wait a couple of weeks to get deals. And then he waited. And then next thing you know, he's like, shit, I need a deal. And I was like, you know what? We're going to start looking about 2 weeks before you think you need them, because sometimes it takes like 2 weeks to ramp up and get some stuff in front of you. And it gets a little like me and Ray are the same with this. We noticed that we have the same personality. Like if we look for deals for a bit and we don't get deals, we both get a little anxious about it. And so I've noticed I don't really. So now I'm trying to anticipate when I'll need a deal and starting on it a few weeks beforehand, just so I can slowly work my way into it, get a rhythm going. And it's not like, okay, I need a deal. All right, I got a week. Let's do it. And you do that, you might go insane because it's just weird how deals come through. They never come in like we want them to. They always come in when they want to come in. You always have these issues, by the way. This issue you're having with this lady, very common. So knowing you're always going to have these types of issues is why we always want to buy a little bit in advance.
Well, I realize next time I'm going to go look at a property and have a contract with me to sign. You know what I mean?
Good advice to yourself. That's actually a really good.
Yeah.
Because you can always sign it and then enter, contingent upon my partner's approval. And then come back and negotiate or have a conversation later if something doesn't work. Yes, I would say that is a lesson I've learned really hard way. Really, really hard way. Because once you're under contract, you have a little more room to stand on to be more assertive. Doesn't mean you'll make them do anything, but if you're like, oh, well, we need this and that, you have the ability to you do have a say in some of the stuff now. You have a seat at the table because you have a contract. With no contract, it's almost like you have to just, whatever you want. It's like you don't have a lot of room because you got to fight that fine balance of running them off. But with a contract, I've had to get sometimes a little more assertive with people in a nice way of like, hey, I understand, and I'm willing to give you some time, but we do have a contract. I've already started title work. We're going to have to go to settlement on this. Now, if there's a time that works better, then let's work that out. People usually, in their brain just clicks over when they sign the paperwork as not it being like a done deal kind of thing. So they don't feel like that door's open. So they often don't go down past that cause things to just go on forever. Because so it is good to when you talk about closing someone, you're actually doing that mostly for them. Like imagine the relief she would have had if she would have closed with you weeks ago, and of knowing that okay, this daughter thing's working itself out, and we're all now she's probably having a struggle, and she's probably not having the heart to do it.
Right.
Probably falling back, but she will do it again though. It's going to happen. So I don't think they're going to sell the deal to anyone else. I think this is a waiting game. Right. And that's why I said you might be on to another deal. What I would start doing now is I would actually start looking for another deal soon. And sometime near future as you get things feeling like once you feel like Amphibian's done and now you're just focusing on Hickory, or is it Hickory? What is the name? Bakken. Amphibian. You got Amphibian. Once you're done with that, then you're focusing only on Bakken. That should free up a little bit of time for you to just look for a few things here and there. Because it's pretty limited right now in AA County. That's actually not a lot of deals right now on the MLS. But I got some marketing supposed to be hitting soon, so we'll see how that happens. So anyhow, I would start doing that to hedge your bets. Like right now, I've got 3 accepted verbal offers. 1, 2, 3, 4 accepted verbal offers. One guy today actually sent the contract back from his lawyer, made a bunch of changes. I signed it, and I'm waiting for him to sign back. Then another one got signed yesterday, and Alabama's one, and then another one is in Nottingham. I forgot the name of it, but and he says his lawyer's going to review it next week. So there's a chance I could end up getting 3 out of 4 or all 4 of them. I don't know, which is more deals than I need, but I'm kind of like, whatever, I'm like, I can always say no to one if somehow I get, but the thing is, I don't want to just be working on any one of those. I really only need 1 or 2 of those. But why work on 1 or 2 when I can work on 4? And if only 2 come through, then I'm fine. If 3 or 4 come through, then I'm, hey, Nancy, do you need a deal? Or hey, somebody else locally, do you need a deal? And you just sell it off to someone, right? We always have options. I think for you, though, you're actually ready for your next deal soon. So this next 3 to 4 weeks is something you should be, you don't want to finish this one and just be looking at the wall and have this downtime, right?
Oh, no. I have some, and I'll start working on them.
Okay.
Some vacant houses I've found.
All right, cool. Work on those. And I would just say at this point, just based on where you are, knowing you're past or getting through sheetrock right now, as soon as Alabama's ready, I would just assume and have the conversation that needs to be your next flip. Yeah. Because there's no reason to give that to me and then scramble to find your next deal weeks later.
Sure.
You can literally just buy it, and if you got to let it sit for a couple weeks, it's not a big deal. Ray does it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Ray, do you endorse inventorying for like a couple weeks to a month? You get his endorsement.
Yeah, sometimes you honestly have to.
Yeah.
Well, you have to because for me, like my personality, like I'll try and start 4 projects. And I heard you talking about this earlier. I was on my phone when I called in, but I'll try and get all 4 projects going because I feel like this awkward urge that I have to making progress simultaneously across everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then meanwhile, literally have a project that like, if everybody was on it, it could be done in less than a week, but instead it'll take 4.
Yeah.
So I've got this like awkward thing that I feel like everything needs to like every needle needs to move forward as one. And that's like one of my like Achilles heels.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing wrong too. And we just did it recently. And because of it, I had, right as Corona hit, I had the lowest amount of money in my bank account in a long time. And I was afraid because I was like, shit, I'm a little low on money. And then Corona hits, and I'm like, now I'm very afraid because I have a couple settlements that need to happen. Like, not I hope happens, they need to happen, or I'm going to be at McDonald's doing these Zoom calls because I have no Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Riding my bike I just bought. And it was like, dude, because like I had like 80 grand in the bank, and 80 grand does not go very far when you're paying 20, 25 grand a week to people, and then plus anything else, right? It's just not like, that's not going to last very long. So if the settlements, we were very fortunate. I was telling this to Kill this morning. I was like, dude, depending on how Corona would have went for me, if it would have went bad, like a few states that went really bad for people, put them on hold for like a month or two because they did not allow real estate or construction as essential. So they were really truly shut down. That happened in a few states. If we would have been one of those states, I don't think I'd be in business right now, or I don't know what I would have done. So that's why now I've gotten real disciplined about, I'm keeping cash in the bank. And as soon as I get past like 350K in cash, then I am not buying anything anymore. Or if I am, I just inventory, because it isn't always about buying. It doesn't cost me a bunch of money. It's when I buy it and work on it. To see, then I'm floating 6 houses at a time. They're not going anywhere. I'm not getting my money back fast enough. So I got all this float money in all these different houses. Buying it generally only costs me like, 20 or 30 grand to buy it. Sometimes like not even that much. Like the one I'm buying tomorrow or Friday is like 8 grand. I'm bringing settlement. I think I put 5, so maybe 15 grand, maybe 15 to 30 grand. But if I start working on it too, then it's like 50 or 60 grand, because I'll do 20 or 30K in work. So I got to be cautious not to work on a bunch of stuff. But also, if I buy a bunch of stuff at once, the fastest way for me to guarantee that doesn't become a problem is to take selectively and finish a handful of things. So like, that's why I selectively said, I'm going to knock these 2 properties out. And I got 2 more coming. So that means I got 2 properties are going to finish in the month of June. I got 2 are finishing in the month of July, and 2 in the month of August. I'm going for 2 a month. That's it. That's all I need. That's my new version. Low volume mic. If I get down to like Ray, where I'm doing like half a flip a year, making $4 million, that's the next level. Like, I didn't even finish my flip, and I made $2.5 million this year. We just started it and then resold it for $2.5 million more. Like, that might be the economy we're heading towards, by the way. I'm seeing some shit going down right now. Like, it's insanely good, and it's a great time to have a flip. So that's why it's important, Nancy, for you not to have that downtime, because you're missing out on some really prime opportunity. And also, Jim's coming through now, and he's starting to get some progress, and you're doing really well in this. When you compare this to your other flips, this is insanely good, right? You're doing a great job. There's so much room to grow. So like, it's going to probably take you 3 or 4 months to do this flip, but next flip will take you 2.5 months, and next one will take you 2 months, because Jim will let loose and you'll be more involved. And as you get more involved and Jim lets loose, these flips they can cut the time in half, literally. And now these checks that you really want to get coming in consistently will start coming in consistently. And this is a very, very, at this level, there's no reason that every person at this level can't do that, where they're consistently, like for you guys, just doing 1 flip a month or 1 every month and a half, just getting a consistent schedule. I'm going to finish, Bakken, but now if I got Alabama going, right, meaning I just get it, I own it and it's waiting, I can go right to it. And what we usually do when it's in inventory is we plan it out. So while it's in inventory, we don't take our guys from one house to that house. You don't want to scavenge people off of Bakken to go to Alabama. So what we can do is we can spend all of our time, if you're pulling permits, then let's get all your permits going and let's get all that done, get all your drawings, decide your layout, right? We can do all that while you're doing Bakken, but we won't take people from Bakken that, could get Bakken done sooner. And now
Right.
if you got extra people that need some work, then we might send them there and say, hey, do the demo or do the framing or do this. But we never take people off of current jobs to go start new ones
Mm-hmm.
because there's just no value in that. Now, like Ray said, you're getting like multiple things happening at once that aren't really, because as you take a crew and you send them to do one thing, now what you're doing is they're coming off another thing. So it means, yes, you got that a week ahead, but you lost a week on the other house. So it's like zero net outcome, right? You don't want to do that. That's why I don't believe in doing two houses at once. I always preach do like one and a half at a time. And basically do a house and get one prepped and ready and waiting for you. Alec, for you, that's probably true too. I think you're kind of running that kind of about that balance, where you're always kind of, you're not usually waiting. You usually have a flip kind of sitting and waiting for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that puts you at what, like 8 to 10 a year or something usually?
Usually, yeah, about 8. Yeah, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. Just
That's-
depends on the size. So,
Mhm.
And it's kind of a tough. It's kind of a tough number because I usually if I find a good crew I'll lose them in between. You know what I mean? If I don't have a house, so I think I kind of need to be. I think my goal would be 12, like to be doing, kind of basically one a month if I can balance the, the acquisition, that's the tough thing for me. I'm out here. So, I was going to lob that question out. If anyone's doing anything different with COVID, like on the MLS, or is it kind of like same strategy, or is there anything?
I'm doing the same strategy on the MLS. I've actually seen the MLS is kind of, it's not as full with properties right now as it was, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I just checked it recently and it was starting to get better, but last month it was kind of slow. Like it was low inventory. Like we didn't see a lot of new inventory, but still I squeezed some deals. Like there were some wholesale deals that I was able to get off the MLS and I still was able to find some deals, but it just took a little bit of getting out there and just doing some stuff. So I think that what's going to happen in our near future is that our inventory is going to get a little more balanced out for bad properties for sure. So COVID should, if all these people lost their jobs, and we should think that in 6 to 8 months, there should be more foreclosures, more properties we like, which everybody's like, well, when that happens, it's going to crush the market. I don't believe that. I think when it happens, it's just going to create more inventory for guys like us.
Yeah.
Those deals don't crush the market. There's two separate markets. There's the as-is market, and then there's the retail market. And the retail market is starving for properties, especially good ones. It's like starving for good properties. But, the as-is market seems to be pretty steady still. Right. There was some inventory. Just not, I thought there might be like more inventory, but not really. Actually, it seemed to be like about on the low end. You know what it seemed like? Like a normal spring, right? It's not like really no different than spring always a little bit lower inventory than usual. April, May, people, if they do one flip a year, they tend to try to buy it when they get a hair up their butt in spring. So, everybody's pumped when the weather gets good and they get out the house. These people don't like to flip in the cold. But I guess you don't have to worry about that. He's like, that's me. That's why I moved to San Diego. I don't have to flip in the cold.
That's right.
Exactly. Right. But, here, yes, there's people that literally flip 1 or 2 houses a year and they try to do it in the spring. And so they're buying like, March, April, May. And then things tend to, like, time summer hits, then it seems like things start to loosen up. So I'm seeing things loosening up right now, getting into June. So for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I've seen a lot of, I've had more deals and I've had a lot of opportunity in the last week or two. So I'm getting very full very quick, which is good because I had like me and Ray were talking about this. There was like about a month, like probably, I guess this was like beginning of May, maybe. And it seemed like the whole month of May was a little tiny bit slow, but that's normal for May, by the way. That's like every year that's normal. I don't know. If it's different where you are, but like, the seasons do matter to us a little more. It seems like spring's hot, man. Like, you don't have like spring market where it's like things sell better in the spring market.
Not really.
Okay. It's interesting. We have and honestly for us, Alec, it has more to do with, we say it's weather because that's an easy reason because weather is beautiful, but it has more to do with like the holidays are over and people have gotten their income tax back. And that often is like the last thing they need, like that $5 to $7 grand to get back enough for their down payment. And generally, it's just a good time, right? They're pumped to buy. And, buying a house is a process. And people around like the holidays generally don't want to deal with that process. And if you're like me, you don't want to go out in the cold. Just like, let's do it in the spring. best time to buy those in the winter and the best time to sell is in the spring. But most people just do the opposite, right? The general public
Right.
does the opposite.
General public, yeah.
It's like the stock market, right? So I haven't seen anything. I mean, certainly you should look and see, but I imagine, are you seeing MLS still just looking really tight and you have to fight pretty hard for everything?
Yeah, it's been pretty tight.
Any tighter than it was before, or because it was really tight before. I mean, is the basis
Seems,
the same?
seems so. Yeah, it seems so.
More tight?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that. I can see why that would be the case right now.
Yeah.
I see mine to be a little bit tighter than usual.
Yeah.
Still deals there. You just gotta, I'm digging a little harder, a little deeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna probably start going back in time and look for stuff that's been listed 3 months ago, and that's what I was gonna kind of do after this. So see if
I would recommend that, because what I've noticed recently, the deals I've been getting are deals that have weird layouts that other people don't see. Things have been on the market a little while, and then maybe I had wanted a student Marlo got a deal today, and it was one I looked at 2 months ago, and a wholesaler's been trying to sell for 2 months, and he just was able, the wholesaler kept going down a little bit at a time, and he was able just to get it for a price. Finally, it made sense.
Okay.
That was like $20K too high, and I was like, I ain't gonna waste my time. I got enough other stuff to look at. So when he seen it, I was like, yeah, it needs to be lower number. And he's like, oh, let me see if I can get it. He called the guy, and he won at 117 when I looked at it. Marlo got it for 96. It worked at 96. It didn't work at 117. They said no to him. I think I might have offered similar what Marlo offered 2 months ago, and it was a no. And now 2 months later, it's a yes. So timing, right? And that's so, like you just said, going and looking at things that have been on for a while, and then where okay, they might consider, and they were all wanting 105 right now, so you got them from 105 to 196, and that same wholesaler I got a deal from that they were trying to sell for 89. For some reason, no one bought it, and I picked it up for 77. Had layout issues though, complex layout.
Yeah.
So if you're able to figure the layout out and make it work, where the harder the layout is, something unique about the property. The three things I'm finding is that they list it really low, which you probably don't see a lot where you are. And I don't see it a lot here either. It's kind of like a unicorn. When it happens, though, I'm on it, right? My job is to be on the MLS. And when they do underlist something, I want to come in and be the guy that's offering 30, 40K over a list, because I'm not afraid to do so. I'll offer what it's worth. Right. So if they list, I've had many times they list for 59. I'm like, I can pay 115 for that. That's crazy. And then, most people are being greedy, saying, well, just give them 20K over a list. Meaning, you're not getting anything off the MLS and making 60K. Not from the jump. You might be able to get multiple offers in the back end, turn it into a 60K. But most deals you on the MLS are going to be 30, 40K deals max. That's just kind of where they lay, in that ballpark. It's hard to make big money unless a lot of stars align. So we're finding that if it has an odd layout or fire damage or something that's just going to run off the weaker or, the more weak rehabbers that don't want to kind of dive into anything creative, that seems to be the stuff that tends to have a better chance. So we get people that don't want to buy busy streets has been good for me lately. No basements are fairly and no basement at all works out kind of good sometimes if I'm in a no basement neighborhood. Yeah, a lot of those things have been really good. Because everyone's like, oh, I don't know about that. They're all following the rules they heard from some, I don't know, Ron LeGrand or something. He's like, here's the 5 things you don't want to do as a house flipper. Don't buy these things. And I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm only saying there's context. There are times when busy streets are pretty epic, and there's other comps. There's certain busy streets that do really well. And if there's a lot of solds on that busy street that look just like my house, I'm buying on a busy street. And what I found is if I'm willing to do that and I spot that, most flippers just don't even look at those. Another scenario is when I'm able to take 2 bedrooms. I've been looking at 2 bedrooms recently. I don't like to sell 2 bedrooms, but a lot of times I'll see a 2 bedroom and it's 1,080 square feet. And I'm like, dude, there's a really good chance I can redesign this and turn it into a 3 bedroom. All right, because people aren't looking for big grand bedrooms. Sometimes they'll make 2 really big bedrooms, and maybe all I got to do is chop it back up and make it back into 3 bedrooms, finish a basement if we have it. And everyone, I can tell you that when I see 2 bedrooms a month ago, I was like, that's 2 bedroom, never mind. Now I'm actually 2 bedroom, how much square footage is it? And if I see some square footage, and I seen one recently that I was going to look at, I never got out to it. I'm going tomorrow to see it, but it's a 2 bedroom and it's 1,350 square feet. So in my brain, I'm like, how can it be actually a 2-bedroom? Like, there's no way in 1,350 square feet I can get more bedrooms than that.
Right. Yeah.
But I know that a lot of my competitors won't think that. They'll just see 2 bedrooms. They even probably have a rule of like to their realtor of like, don't send me anything unless it's 3 bedrooms. So you see how like we're just picking, like that's how the MLS works. You got to find like these little niches and like little opportunities that other investors won't be on as much.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyhow, the deal I just bought 2 weeks ago, it has the most funky layout I've ever seen. I mean, it is a complete funky layout. I didn't even, we're actually going to go there Saturday. So it'll
Is that the one? Yeah, I thought it might be.
yeah, it's the one. It's the weird. That's why I decided to do an infield training on it, because like I'm just going to let the students run through it and just be like, what the F is this thing? What did you buy? It's across from a school. The layout is insanely awkward and weird. And like I walked through the house and I didn't even know the other half of the house existed. You had to go through like a closet, and then it went in like multiple other rooms. And I'm like, I found those. I was like, wow, it's a deal. It wasn't a deal when I couldn't find half the house. I'm like, literally could not find it. I was walking out the door and I was like, what's this, a closet? And I looked in the closet, and there was a closet that went into another side of the house, like the east wing. I'm like, okay, there's more house. It's like 3 extra rooms, like pretty big rooms, like 300-400 square feet. So then the house started working. And I'm like, how many people went through this and didn't realize that, right? How many people? Well, probably quite a few. So finding deals that other people just are like not seeing, like, you know, you're not being creative about, that's the stuff. The same thing with the courthouse steps. All the deals I won with the courthouse steps were things that predominantly other investors were passing on. So what I did was I figured, okay, what are they passing on and why are they passing on it? And what could I do to create an advantage? So I started buying more houses with occupants in it. I wouldn't do that now, though. I don't recommend that now with everything going on. But at that time, I had a good lawyer and a good team who could get these people out. And I even had a lawyer who was able to start evictions before we actually took ownership. And because sometimes it takes 2 to 3 months for ours to ratify when you buy on the courthouse steps. And he can get people out quick. So I noticed that if I bought a house and it took me 2 or 3 months to get someone out, I could generally buy it. Like if say it was $2,000 a month payment, I could often buy it 10 or 15K cheaper. So I was getting paid a premium. And the best part of this is that I did probably 25 of those, and I only had to evict 2 people out of the 25. The other 23, I'd put a note on their door saying, hey, eviction's happening. I'd make a fake note and telling them they're being evicted, but I'd like to work it out with them, call me with any questions. And they would call me and I'd be like, hey, let's sit down and talk about it. You know, eviction's coming through soon. They're probably going to make you get out in like the next 30 days. I don't like to kick anyone out. I'd love to sit and talk with you and maybe, you know, offer you some money to help you move. And they were like, oh, cool. When you want to stop by? And I'd stop by and I'd give them $1,000 or $2,000 and, you know, they peacefully leave. Right. And it was like, that worked most of the time. 22 out of 25 times roughly, you know, somewhere close to that ballpark. And so where everyone else was running from it, I'm like, I'm getting the tenants out 90% of the time for like $1,000 or $2,000. And I'm picking up deals 10 and 15K cheaper because I was willing to take that risk and do that. So for me, that ended up being my niche. I didn't buy everything occupied, but I felt like I ended up winning a decent amount of occupieds. And some of those ended up being like sick deals because, you know, people just would leave them alone. Nice. They just would, you know, a lot of guys would just pass on it because a lot of guys are wholesalers at the courthouse steps. So, you know, they want to wholesale it off, and it's difficult to wholesale something that's occupied. It really is, because the people can't get in it. It's really difficult. So they always tend to like bid up on the ones that are vacant that they can get in. They know, you know, they can try to wholesale it easily and get people through. So I noticed that here for Maryland, you probably have something different where you are, but always figuring out like what's the niche that people aren't really, and what could you do to be really like to minimize that problem. So that's something to think about whenever you're looking for deals. Like, how do you minimize issues? Cool. We got some houses, 6:30. So I got some comping we're going to do. We got a couple deals we're going to look at. And we've been talking a little bit about finding deals. So if you guys want to see, I got a couple MLS deals I'm going to take and break down, look at for Sabrina. She'll be on soon, or Samira, I mean, not Sabrina. And I think she'll be on this thing. See if she's on now. She might actually be on. David's on, Kim, Gloria, everybody's on. So we'll give her a couple minutes because these are her deals. And once she's on, we'll go. Does anybody else have any deals you want to look at?
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back, man. Welcome.
I don't know what happened. Cool.
Yeah. So anybody got any deals they want to look at, like houses, MLS stuff they want to look at, they're looking at to buy?
I have one we're getting ready to list, Mike. Or are you
Take a
just
look.
doing buy side?
No, yeah, let's take a look at it. She'll be on by then, and then we'll jump on hers.
Okay.
Or
Do
she's
you
not.
have your Bright open? Are you logged into Bright?
I don't think I can do your area though.
Yeah, you can.
Can I? No,
Yeah.
let's see.
We're
Okay.
actually looking at houses out at the lake on Bright. I didn't realize it went out all the way out to the mountains.
Well, let's see.
Why? I hopefully it doesn't make a wire, man. I think it should.
What's your house address?
It's 1129 Picasso,
I'll spell that.
Picasso Court. And there it is. Yep.
Actually came up. Oh, check that out. I'm assuming. Go ahead and mute yourself.
I don't. That was
Not you. Not you. I'm saying. I think it was whoever was making a noise. Cool. All right. Let's take a quick look. And your house. So, how do I see your house so I have something to go off of? Tell me about how big is it? I know it's probably a newer house.
It's a 2.5, 2,800 square feet, and we pulled permits and finished another 600 square foot in the basement.
Okay, cool. We can work off of that because we know it's new. If it's not new, like a lot of deals we look at here in Maryland, we almost need to see it to see like the shape, the positioning of it, all those things kind of matter. But where you're at, Ray's doing a lot of new homes. So it literally, we can pretty much just go off what he's telling us because they're all very comparable. So what we're going to do is we always were comping and we're comping for other stuff. So comping yours actually makes a lot of sense too. So we just basically are going to go down here until the houses start looking like Ray's. So these are bigger, right? Above grade, 3,600, 3,600, 34. Now we're close. 3,000's in the ballpark. You know, it's Terry, see concessions. No, 2013 though. When was yours? Was probably like a 5, built in like 5 or something.
Built in 2005, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this one here, I feel like this one's probably pretty big though. It's a 532. Let's see. This is the first one coming up, active under contract. What was your number on this? I know it's probably much higher than what I'm seeing, isn't it?
We used 340 for the ARV.
Oh, but I haven't seen anything to prove that yet.
There is.
Am I missing comps? Well, these are all going to be similar to yours.
I think that one was pending. I think they were newer. That was one that we sold. So that was like almost a year ago.
Which one?
That's 519 Stockton. That was one that we actually used. If you go up one.
So basically when the B team was selling stuff. Okay, now we're good. I think we got enough. We got enough to look at. These are a little big.
Yeah, we used one right outside of this. It was like 0.6 miles. It was on it was the main one that we used because it was identical to ours and it had a finished basement. It was on Stagger Bush, but it was like 0.6 miles away.
Let's just look at what we got and see how that works. This is how your house looks.
Pretty similar. It's in a different neighborhood, but pretty similar.
Yeah, so these are just clean. Nice, but not like as modern as yours might be. How about your backyard? You got decent lot, deck, or anything?
Yeah, we put the fence in, so we fenced everything in. It's probably about the same size lot as well.
Okay. So this one, how do you compare to this?
We are probably pretty close to that. When did that one sell, though? These were comps for one that we sold in November. We actually used this as a comp for one that we sold in November.
Well, let's look at pool.
Yeah.
I think it's almost unfair comping your stuff because half these things are yours. This sold in 19, 6.
Yeah, Yeah, that was the
Here we go.
challenge. A lot of these, when I saw back 500 days, this was stuff that we used to comp.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a challenge as much. Look, they got 325 a year ago. We can clearly know that your values went up quite a bit in the last year.
Did that have a finished basement? Do you know?
Let's look and see. Basement
Yeah,
finished, it says.
Okay.
Yeah, it says finished basement. It's got a
All right.
pool and all that. But look, it's less square footage. It's a year-old comp. And I can tell you that what we've seen with Ray's neighborhood is that, and honestly, some of this is because of Ray and Hannah. They've had a lot of houses they've sold for considerably over list. And essentially what's happened after they do that, then other people start selling for those numbers again. So the value has went up in the last couple months. So almost probably like using a year-old comp for them is actually, in my head, I know that it's a little more than that because the reality of this whole thing is I know that their houses are selling kind of insanely well. So yeah, this looks good. I mean, and none of these are really renovated like theirs. So they're all this one's pretty nice overall.
Yeah, that one was sharp. The closest, most recent one was that pending one at 337.
Did I miss that one, or is that the one you said?
No, you had it on there. It was at 3. It was the
first one we looked at. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are just same thing, a year old. That's a big deal. Plus, look at what let me just show you something. They with original list price, last price 325, and close price 325. He does some B team stuff here. That's not what their listings look like. Right? Your listing looks like listed for 325, got 345. What was your last listing? You listed at what, 359? 369?
And got 412.
And got 412. So yeah, there you go. And that's not far from this, right?
That's a completely different town, that one, yeah.
Okay, so it is a different town.
Yeah.
All right. So this one's pending, but let's take a look at it. It's 2,500, smaller than yours. It's, it's pretty original. These are all going to be, they're only 2005, so they're obviously all going to be nice, but they're not freshly renovated. There's something about like new paint, carpet, and all that, getting a new car. These houses, it's something about when these things are new. A jacuzzi. Basement. That's a nice house. Like, I don't think you're going to see anything
basement.
but nice houses. And that's pending right now. But again, there's something about these completely open. So let's just take a look at some of the details of this. As this is now, this is on for 54 days. 630. Now, you were thinking about listing it for 340. Was that originally what you thought?
Yeah, we used 339.9.
Okay. Why? Just out of curiosity, because I feel like the comps are suggesting like a lower start price, but I'm no doubt you'll end up getting like way more because you do every time. And plus, we haven't seen a comp yet that actually is relevant to you. Like, is going to be as clean and fresh.
So if you can switch criteria and take it out to like 0.75, there was one or two. The one I remember was identical to ours. It was it was called Stagger Bush. And I can't, with the screen up, I can't see it on my Excel, but I think they got 355 for it. So there it is, 232 Stagger Bush.
It's only a half mile out. That should have came up. Oh,
So
you know why I didn't use that? Because it was 2013. I seen it.
What was 2013?
Just Stagger Bush. That's why I didn't use it.
100 square feet bigger. We're 2,900. I think it had a finished basement too.
Looks renovated too. I mean, looks fresh.
Yeah, this was the one that we used as our main comp for it.
So my only issue with using this as a main comp is it's built in 13. That does mean something.
Well, I think we looked at that when we actually ran it, us being built in 5. I think you were saying if it was built in like 2019, it would be new construction.
Yeah, it's new enough. But, okay, got that nice little screen area out there. Huh. Yeah, I think you might be on the high end, but you'll find out. I mean, what you got going on right now, if you go like 334.9 or 339.9, I'm just always consider what's going to take to get it higher, right? If you're like, damn, I wish I really was counting on 340 and I'd like to get 350 or 360, just think of like, what is the best way to do that?
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend going over 339, obviously, because I think you're a little on the high end, but I don't think you're high. if that makes
Okay.
sense, right? I don't think you're like over listing by any means. I do think that, I might even consider, just based on what I'm seeing, going 334.9 or 339.9 is probably fine. Because like the thing
Okay.
is, there's no rehabbed houses. Like when you guys put your rehabs out, you're very fortunate you stand out as being like the only person rehabbing. Like there's just no other rehabbers really rehabbing these. So
Okay.
that's good. And I mean, that being said, that will create an emotional reaction. But, and then look, and I know the numbers have been getting insanely high where you're at. So there's just not much available. So even if we go back, let's take a quick look real fast and just see what's available. I don't know if we even looked at the available real quick. 1 second, let me pull this into the one line. Oh, you know what? You just get the criteria. So
There's nothing active.
that's always solid. It's like, how many houses are active? Like, man, I don't care about that either. So there's 8 actives. Let's look at them. Let's just see what the journey would look like if somebody was like, yeah, I want to buy a house. Okay, so there's a 379 active.
He bought this and flipped it. He literally is
So-
showing it to people while they're actively renovating it. I've never, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the best idea or the worst idea, and he's getting showings.
I'm sure he's getting showings. But do you see it under contract? No, because it's stupid. I mean, you'll get showings. People come just out of curiosity. They'll
Yeah.
just never pay the most doing that. They're never going to pay
Yeah.
the most. So that's some agent gave him bad advice. Now this one's 280 and only 1,800 square foot with a 3.2. So that's kind of like really good. Like, I mean, your house crushes that house. Like you got over 1,000 square foot more. You got more beds and baths. Let's see what the quality looks like. It's nice. Yeah, it's very nice, but renovated, I would say, but not quite as nice as yours. But it's an inferior home. 1,800 square foot, a very nice home, but not comparable to 2,800 square feet.
Yeah, it has a finished basement.
Park. Fantastic, but the guy's not finished, so that's brutal. This guy wants 280, and he's like, I mean, not even close to as good of a house, right? Totally. I mean, that's a dump. So this is the journey. So far, the journey sucks. Let's keep looking. Now, again, another 1,800 square foot house for 270. So no, I don't think you're having any problem with 240. I don't see a lot of comps to support 240, but the actives are like these are nice houses, but this is not the fresh paint, the neutral paint. This is like a color, like this is, I don't even know, it's like puke yellow, and then they got that burnt like brown. Some people would like this, but not everyone's going to like these colors. They're definitely not neutral, right? Like you would describe neutral. I think it's kind of burgundy carpet.
Yeah, it's like nothing
Nice
in the
house,
price
nice full.
range.
Yeah, nice house, but again, not like people come into your home, everything's super neutral, right? And like most people, husband and wives don't have to fight over it. Like one person likes it, the other doesn't. They're both going to be like, oh, we both like this. This is why they end up buying your homes. So yeah, that one sucks. This one is 1,700 square foot, doesn't even have a second bath, and that's 236. So that's your actually closest active at the price you're going to go out at.
No,
Like
we're going at 340, not 240.
Is that 240?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought it said 340. I was missing 100 grand, I guess. So it jumps right to that, huh?
Yeah, it goes from 379 to 280, but they're
Let me ask you a
1,000.
question. Is this a house you could look at to buy?
No,
I guess 600 days on the market, man. You should be making them some offer.
this neighborhood's tough. This neighborhood kind of caps out. It's an older neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, if we needed one right now, I could probably look at it, but
You don't think they go for like the high 200s? Yeah, probably not in the threes, right? Yeah, it makes sense. So it's
yeah,
not
I
that
mean,
big.
we bought ours for 223 with 1,000 square feet more, and you saw the condition of it when we bought
Yeah.
it.
This one's renovated, so yeah, you're right. It looks like that house ain't worth about a 250, 260. Yeah, and there's the 1,400 square feet, but again, this is a little outdated, but
Yeah, and like that, those like newer construction, there really wasn't much active, so I didn't like the only
Okay.
either ours or 379.
oh, here we go. What about this one? 108,000 sounds like a winner.
I think that's well and septic, and after this well and septic one, I'm gonna
Let's
I'm
see.
gonna sit tight for
It's like-
yeah. It's
Hold on.
septic.
Holy, oh, look at the acres though. Dude, you can build a hippie commune on that. It's 29 acres.
I can start my
Holy
own.
crap. Can we just go camping, just buy that and live in it? We can camp on your property. Sort of
Yeah.
campground on that. That's
Subdivide it.
insane. So obviously at 1,360 square feet, this could be better than 2-1.
Yeah.
So I already assume you could easily make it a 3-2, maybe even a 4-3, depending. But
I don't want to do well in septic again for right now.
I wouldn't want to do it either. I agree. Well, how about this one? Is this well septic too? It's 1980. It's newer.
I think this is HUD, and it's got a 10-day or 15-day lockout.
Still liking it though. All right, I'd put that on your radar. Now we're deal searching. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. It is HUD,
that's-
but 10 days. Let's see if anyone hits the number.
Yeah.
Numbers look good though. 108K.
On that one, that would be good. That's like a 229.
Cool. Yeah, maybe like 60, 70K in work. Not super big. It's 2,000 square feet though, so yeah, I can see that being a good number.
Yeah.
Dude, put that on your to-do list and put it on your calendar to check it a couple days before. If it hasn't sold a few days before the limit, usually you have a good chance of it coming through.
Yeah.
That's what I do with the HUDs. I kind of like just put a note in it. If I see the HUD right now, literally like go on your phone and put in your calendar 3 days, 10 days from now. So about 7 days from now, a week from now, next Tuesday, put in your calendar to look at 1602 Briarwood Drive and then look at it and just see if it's still available. If it is, then you should go see it, look at it, get an offer prepared. And then you should submit that offer 12:01 or first thing in the morning, the day it's available. If you can offer what they're doing, I've had them accept it in 24 hours many times. And if you can offer more, they'll really accept it quickly. So you'd be surprised, man. People fluff on this stuff because, HUD makes them wait 15 days and people are very instant gratification. So 15 days later, they kind of forgot about it. You know how many deals I recently looked at and then 15 days later, I was like, forgot about it. And then it's under contract. I'm like, oh man, come on. I missed it. It was a good deal. Someone else got it. So I'm now putting it on my calendar to say, check out this house.
Yeah, I just put it on my phone.
Yeah, now you're good. You'll check it out because that's like, of what we're seeing there. That looks like an opportunity. So
Yeah.
cool. Let's see. Is Samir on?